Let's determine JJ's value right here on this show. Let's have you call in. Phone lines are open right now to debate different players against JJ. You throw names at me. We play which side does Smitty want. And we'll determine what our line in the sand is for JJ in terms of trading him away, in terms of holding him. And we're going to determine whether we should be going and getting him based on a lot of the conversations we had, because I venture to say he's more of a steal and a bargain than he is a sell. And I think a lot of what we talk about tonight will determine that and showcase that. We're going to be attacking JJ, I think, after this show, is basically what I'm telling you. The Fantasy Football Show Graveyard Edition begins right now. File on in and dial in while you're at it.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Here we are. And we're talking JJ, everything JJ tonight. And the phone lines are open, dial in. And you throw names at me. We discuss said example. And we debate it, and then we decide. Most likely, a lot of the calls, we're going to try and, push the limits, right? So a lot of the decisions could be JJ, but maybe we come across a lot of other decisions as well. Travis is live on the line. Throw your first name at me, Travis. Do your worst.
James Cook.
Woo! Okay, Dynasty, redraft. Let's mix it all up tonight. It can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, both if you can do it quick.
Okay.
Either or.
We'll do both examples. Let me find my damn James Cook graphic. Where is he? Where the hell are you, James? Hold on a second. Oh, there he is. Okay. I was like, did I do something? Did I delete him? All right, James Cook. A lot of context here is going to determine some things, right? Cost of entry. We're going to have a lot of cost of entry discussions, I think. But I would venture to say that in my mind, Dynasty, it's not even a question. Justin Jefferson. Even if Kyler ends up being a pit stop for the Vikings offense, he is, in my mind, still one of the best buys in fantasy, period. That's why I decided to do a show on it tonight. James Cook is a running back. James Cook's got a shelf life. James Cook could return to normalcy. And what is normalcy? Some would say it's elite play. But I would say that because DJ Moore's in town, the likelihood of his PPR game getting enhanced is slim to none. And he's either living in a PPR world or a workhorse between the tackles world. They don't throw to him and run him and give him a good mix of everything. He's either doing one or the other. He's very one-dimensional. The thing about Cook is they've had no other weapons, so they've leaned on him so heavily that what he does get leaned upon for, he delivers, right? So he's running, he's scoring tons of touchdowns. Some games they throw to him, he does a lot there, but doesn't run. I venture to say that this is going to be very one-dimensional for him. And I'm going to answer this for Dynasty and Redraft. I don't even need to redo it. I'm taking JJ in Redraft. There's a little less ambiguity around his Kyler Murray, JJ McCarthy quarterback situation, but things have improved greatly for me no matter what in my mind for Justin Jefferson. Even if Kyler is a pit stop, they will fix it the next year. They're not going to leave the situation the way it is. Let me merge this call real quick. Caller, just mute yourself. I'll be right with you. I'll have you throw out a name in just 1 second after I get through the JJ rant here. But please mute yourself. Who is this, by the way? 850, what's your name real quick?
William from Pensacola.
All right. Mute yourself, William. I'll be right with you. Get your name ready.
All right. Cool.
My worst case scenario here is that Kyler amplifies or creates a player that's scoring right around where Cook's scoring anyway. That's kind of like my worst case scenario. That's what I envision anyway. That Kyler mixed with whatever else they're doing is going to put JJ in the same statistical, from a numbers perspective. If it's 1,400 yards total that he has and 12 touchdowns, I believe he will also have that same number. I just think he comes with more, obviously PPR upside, which could nudge him over. If they're equal in touchdowns, they're equal in yardage overall, total yardage, and he's got receptions that trump his, then he's gonna be better. JJ's gonna be better. I understand the world where people think Cook is going to replicate what he did last year, and I understand the world where people think the offense will just be in better field position in the goal line situations, more in the red zone more, which will create more touchdown opportunities. But I don't think James Cook thrives as much as people think with with another big name player, DJ Moore, in town. I just think it's going to get diluted a little bit. And he's too one-dimensional to count on compensating for that potential rapture of production that's going toward DJ Moore. I don't think he's got to then survive solely off the rushing, and they might not need to run as much. He'll have big games. Best ball, I still love James Cook. I'm not trying to crap on James Cook at all. But from a redraft perspective, I'm still taking JJ. And it's debatable. I understand that the trauma is real. The PTSD is real. The concern for Kyler, who didn't make M.A. Shea or Michael Wilson Jr. play good football at all, is real. But I also know that we've seen Kyler throw to Hopkins, be successful under Kingsbury. He just needs the right system and right coach, and I believe JJ will be his McBride in a way. I don't think McBride, because he was a tight end, was the only reason why Kyler was able to connect and provide him elite tight end yardage. He didn't give him the elite touchdowns, but he gave him the elite tight end yardage. I think JJ can fill that void or that place in Kyler's, heart, if you will. This is going to be fine. This is going to be a great year for JJ. His floor is really, really high. Go ahead, Travis, real quick, and then I'll go over to William.
No, so this isn't like a 1-versus-1, but just on how Kyler was with McBride, not getting a lot of TDs, and then Jefferson in the past struggling to get TDs. Do you worry about that at all? I hadn't really thought of it till now, but up until, 2024, Jefferson was one of those guys who never got touchdowns or didn't get many.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, I think it's very much the McBride story, that McBride wasn't getting touchdowns, but he just was living in a horrible touchdown-driven environment for him. And then now all of a sudden, Brissett's in town and McBride thrives. Now, you could say, well, Kyler's the variable that left, and I get that. And, that part concerns me, but it also, I believe, can be the same story over here with Kyler with the right coaching, with the right system, because Kyler with Kingsbury was a dog. He got hurt during that season where Kingsbury had the Arizona Cardinals. I believe it was through 7 or 8 games. They were the only undefeated team left in the National Football League. And Kyler was a dog. Cardinals looked like the best team in the league. And it wasn't 2 games. It wasn't 1 month. It was literally like 2 months of football. And then Kyler got hurt. So that Kyler could throw 10 touchdowns to JJ. That Kyler can deliver 10 touchdowns to JJ. And the scheme's going to deliver 10 touchdowns to JJ. Kyler's just going to have to get him the ball. But,
I'm curious on your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no. In the flip the script argument here would just be that, hey, we've seen it here. It just happened. And here we're hoping it returns to form. Like, that would be my flip the script argument. If I was to try and say it's Cook, it would be, what have you done for me lately? In the end of the story. But I would just say that the scenarios have very much changed for James Cook. Not necessarily for the horrible, but just not necessarily for getting better or having more well-rounded production. And just because they have DJ Moore covering, more of that wide receiver need for Josh Allen and the targets and everything, doesn't mean they're just going to, okay, now we can focus on running Cook more. I don't know that it's going to necessarily give him more volume on the ground. I just think he's going to lack receptions, get a little less rushing. And then, this was a big year for Cook. A very big year. Holding out, there's a lot of risk of injury. He didn't suffer injury. He's one of the people that actually fared very well. And we have always liked Ray Davis and everything. Cook blew away all the expectations. He's phenomenal. But running backs tend to, when they have huge, heavy usage years, regress a little bit. And there's more of a chance he regresses than repeats. I'll just put it that way. And then you take away some of the potential receiving production that DJ Moore is going to command. Kincaid's going to take another step forward. They just signed Dawson Knox to an extension. There's talk about Tyreek Hill landing in Buffalo now. Right. He's leading the Pauly market betting lines for being the number one, landing spot would be Buffalo for Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of worry here that Cook is just going to have the need for Cook to step up and carry and shoulder the load with Josh Allen. No pause needed. It's the odds are much less likely that he's going to be the most popular kid in town that's not named Josh Allen.
I think I'll let you get to the call, but I think you make a really good point too with the workload. He had 309 carries last year.
Yeah.
The year before he had 207. The year before that, 237. So he had never even went over 250.
I love him.
Now he's up over 300 in the season. I do too.
Just to make sure everyone knows, the guy knows how to hit the hole. No pause needed there either. Stop getting weird. He literally reads the defense, switches things up when he needs to. He's not just batting blind and just running through the gap. He's really literally, just really understands the game. So I love James Cook, love him. But you got to remember, Josh Allen literally had to lean on him for everything, and that's not going to be needed, and that's good. But the odds of injury are high because of the workload. The odds of not needing to lean on him as much at and around the red zone, the odds of not needing to are high. They go up. The odds of that this team is near the red zone more or end zone more, that's an argument to make, but I venture to say that they still figured out how to get near the red zone and end zone. I don't know that this maybe changes anything there, to be honest. I think it might change how they score, and it might change when they score versus kicking a field goal, but I don't know that they just venture into the red zone or end zone territory more often. They're a team that was able to. Josh Allen took care of it. He said, "Hold my beer, I'll take care of it. I'll get us into the red zone every time." There we go. So I don't know that you can use that argument. So what goes up for James Cook? Nothing. I think everything kind of goes down. Production, the carries, likely carries go down. He's not getting 315 carries like he might not even hold up against that. Real quickly, Travis, let me go over to William before he hangs up.
Yeah,
William, throw a player at me. Tell me if you want me to analyze it, redraft or dynasty first, and I'll probably do the other just to cover our bases. But hit me with it, William.
I kind of off topic a little bit, not necessarily dynasty, but just to touch on a little bit with the Kyler thing. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is the routes that Kyler just doesn't hit due to the height. And that reception versus perception, forget who did it. I think you know who I'm talking about. There's just certain routes. Now, was it Marvin Harrison not really running them that good, or was it Kyler just not hitting them?
There's a couple things here that I think you can't measure with stuff like that. The bottom line is the offense is not catered toward Kyler. Secondly, the play calling, even though we love Petzing in a lot of ways, he would run MHJ downfield on a lot of go balls and stretching the field type of stuff. And there wasn't, honestly, a lot of work that made sense for Kyler's style of play where he's running to the right, can't see over the offensive line. Like I always say, it's like a bunch of oleanders that are 10 feet high. And imagine trying to throw to MHJ running down the sidelines when there's 10 feet high oleanders in front of you. So you scramble to the right, and then all of a sudden McBride pops out of the oleanders and he's running parallel to you. McBride, catch this 15-yard, slant or a drag route or whatever. That's the way that this worked and functioned. But if you remember back, let me merge Bruce in real quick. Hold on. Bruce, mute yourself real quickly. I'll be right with you. If you remember back when Kyler was interviewed, and I don't know if this goes to Petzing, and you can't blame Petzing because when he got Brissett, he delivered. Petzing in Detroit, I'm not worried about it at all. I think Gibbs will thrive. I think we're going to see everybody thrive because Petzing proved what he can do. With Kyler, it's almost like Petzing was handed a child. And it's like, what can you do with this? And so he did what he could, and he couldn't do very well. So I don't blame some of the stuff on that. But I think what it was Petzing told Kyler what he needed to do, where he needed to be. Because when Kyler would be interviewed, he'd say some things that no one picked up on or ever covered. I was the only one screaming from the rooftops. Did you hear what he just said? Kyler would say things like, I didn't throw to MHJ today because sometimes they have me throw to him, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the game, the play calling will have me throw. What do you mean? Like, what in the nobody asked questions. He would say that and everybody move on. They'd keep asking other questions and nobody covered it. Nobody talked about it. When you say such a weird thing about a quarterback who's checking down, going through his route tree, he is no determined player unless there's a design play. It's not like you're running design plays every time, right? Maybe wrong. Maybe with Kyler, it was design plays all the time. What in the hell are you talking about? Sometimes they have me throwing to MHJ. Sometimes they don't. Some games they have me throw to him. Some games they don't. It makes no sense unless they're literally limiting Kyler Murray in ways that we can't even fathom.
Yeah.
And so, I probably, let me merge this call. All right, last call. I got DJ on the line. DJ, mute yourself, please. Everybody else, phone lines are closed right now because we got a full phone line. I think to answer the question, I'm not worried about Kyler in that situation. Kyler worries me, okay? I understand that, but Petzing didn't know how to work with him. You look back at Danny Dimes with Dable. Dable's a quarterback whisperer. He's fantastic with quarterbacks. He couldn't get Danny Dimes going. Shane Steichen turned Jalen Hurts into Jalen Hurts. And by the way, Dable helped develop Josh Allen. Shane Steichen couldn't work with AR5. And even though Dable couldn't develop Danny Dimes, Shane Steichen developed Danny Dimes. Like every quarterback whisperer has better luck with one player versus another.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason O'Connell went after Kyler is because he knows he can fit him in his system. I don't think you're going to have O'Connell tell Kyler, throw it to JJ only right here. I don't know what was going on in Arizona. It felt like that, though, in Arizona. I'll tell you. I don't know what was exactly going on, but it felt that way. I believe that Kyler Murray with Kingsbury was a great version of Kyler Murray. And I'm very hopeful.
How to use them.
Yeah, there's
D-Hop was eaten. Yeah, D-Hop was eaten with Kyler, so I do remember that.
Yeah, and D-Hop is very much like JJ in that sense that he can be a quarterback's best friend. He would probably be running a lot of routes similar to McBride, was running for Kyler, a lot of parallel, roll out of the pocket. JJ's there. JJ's not going to be running streaks all day long. MHJ was run downfield to spread the defense out. It was kind of a weird thing to do, though, if you're as successful as Petzing was later, to be running MHJ that way. And I don't know. I have no idea what happened pre-Brissett. All I know is Brissett balled, and I like Petzing. But to answer the question, I even catch myself I'm talking so bad about Kyler in Arizona that it does make me question some things in the moment. But I do believe that he's a major upgrade from J9. I believe that Jefferson's on a whole nother level over MHJ and Michael Wilson combined. And I think that even though McBride is on a whole nother level from, him and Bowers on over other tight ends, the way Kyler still, even with the limitations of the offense, even with the misguided way that they used him, McBride ate. He constantly ate. He didn't eat in touchdowns, and that was what your question. I'm sorry about the long-winded answer. But there were years where Kyler delivered the football. So I'm not I believe that O'Connell will use him properly. I believe that the touchdowns will be there. As Travis said, JJ survived without being a touchdown guy anyway. So I don't know that any of us are expecting 18 touchdowns from JJ. We usually expect 10 to 12, which is weird because he's so talented. You do wonder. Julio Jones was the same way. Julio would get you 9 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, and he's supposed to be the best receiver in the league at the time. Why isn't he scoring touchdowns? It was maddening. So I do feel a little bit like that with JJ, but the universe has a way of working itself out. And when you think that he's going to get 10 touchdowns because Kyler doesn't throw touchdowns to his wide receivers, I have a feeling this thing's going to flip upside down on you.
Yeah, and I was going to touch on one other thing, like as far as the Dolphins. I know I mentioned the other day when I was thinking they were going to be in on a wide receiver next year's draft, like hopefully Jeremiah Smith. But I keep thinking, like, if they're going to just tear this down completely with Achane being the next one, if they don't get a first-round pick, to me, like, I heard, like, a very creative idea. If they could do, like, a pick swap, like the 11 for a 5 with the Giants and give them Achane. Not sure if they would do that or they would just draft Love. But I think they're going weapon early and just picking up the rest of their team later on. At least that's what I hope they do anyway.
Yeah. All right, my boy. Appreciate you calling in, William. Thank you.
No problem. All right.
All right, let me go over to the Bruce. Bruce, you're loose. Give me a player.
George Pickens.
George Pickens. Is it Dynasty, redraft? I'll cover both, but I need to know what to start with. What do you want me to talk about? Redraft, Dynasty, go.
Do Dynasty first.
All right, Dynasty. We did this the other night, so this will be pretty easy. You can watch for more detail actually on this one, but I think I'm gonna probably hit on the same points, but that'd be funny if it's a completely different take. But that's fantasy football. I'm not embarrassed if it is. Pickens is really, really a decent, safe play, and there is a world, as I said with Dak the other night, that you don't even need a quarterback to play like top 5 like Dak can. Dak is proven to be that good. You don't even need top 5 quarterback play to support 2 top 10 wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers, I think Travis, wasn't it like Garrett Wilson and Adams with Aaron Rodgers in New York they were like 10-9 or 10-11 or.
Yeah, they were 9-10, 10-11, and Rodgers had like 3,800 yards. He didn't even throw for 4,000.
Yeah. And 2 top 10 wide receivers with trash quarterback play. Not trash, but there was a lot of trash play in the midst of some good games. But my point being that you're dealing with Dak producing top 4 to 7 quarterback numbers. So Dak is 100% capable of having Lamb be 1 and Pickens be 5. He's capable of both being 6 and 7 during any given year. But you could have 1 and 5. You could have 1 and 9. You could have 5 and 6. You could have 7 and 8. You could have 1 and 10. Steve, that this is not a dangerous situation for Lamb and Pickens. I do think that if they were separate, we'd have a little bit easier time, I think, settling in on the fact that they could be 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, right? So someone's going to get shoved down to 5, 6, 7 if one of these guys, Pickens or Lamb, is 1 for wide receiver scoring. JJ, I would say in redraft, let me start with redraft, even though you said Dynasty. Redraft, Pickens is safer. You know what you're dealing with. What have you done for me lately comes into play here when I just said, with the Cook situation, I'm not using that. But the reason I'm using that is because my outlook long-term is still great. It's still, very, very solid. Maybe I like JJ a little more in Dynasty, and I'll get there in a second. But from a redraft perspective, what have you done for me lately? What has changed? What's likely to be more of the same? Pickens scoring as wide receiver 5 and it not feeling like it was out of place. I don't know how you could like JJ better than Pickens from a safety perspective for redraft. But in redraft, ceiling is higher, risk is a lot more risk, a lot higher. So if you want ceiling to be number 1, I don't think Pickens is 1. I think Pickens is 5 or 10 or 7 or 9. JJ's 1 or 15. And he still could be 15 with Kyler. I don't think he's lower than that. I think his floor is, let's call it the 12th wide receiver. Okay, the last number 1 in fantasy at the wide receiver position. So number 12. All 12 teams have a wide receiver 1. His floor is the last one. But his ceiling's number 1 overall for wide receivers. So pick your poison. There's overlap. That's redraft. In Dynasty, to me, this isn't close because as much as I love Pickens, he is a diva. There's some of that factored in. He is in a situation where there are 2 wide receivers there. And so long-term, we don't know what that will look like. We know what we got right now, but what if Dak gets injured? What if Dak's out of play? It's too far downstream to be accounting for the Dak Prescott. Everything's great right now. There's no storm. Everything's calm. There's the ocean's real smooth. The waves are nice. We don't know a year and a half from now what the quarterback situation. Can it feed both of them? And they're both locked in. If he gets a new contract, and he's on a tag right now, but if he gets a new contract, you're locked in, pal. And if he ends up moving, he's probably moving to pair with Joe Burrow or something. Like the odds of JJ going to a worse situation, not high. The odds of him going to a better situation, very high. If he leaves or Joe Burrow comes to the Vikings. So his
Smitty.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. Just what would you do with JJ's ranking if the Vikings drafted?
Who is this? Is this Will still? William, did you stay on the line and just butt back in? Sir. Okay, no problem. Bill, go ahead. I was in the middle of a rant, but go ahead, Bill.
I'm sorry.
What was the question?
But if the Vikings drafted like Garrett Nussmeier in like the third round, where would you bump JJ dynasty wise? Because me, that would be significant because I think he can get him the ball in a dome.
A little bit. Any quarterback addition other than Kyler is going to give me a little bit of satisfaction, but I don't know that I'm moving him much. Like, the odds of,
Gotcha.
But it's something that's interesting. All right, William, mute.
Okay.
All right, hold on. What was I saying?
I don't know, man, but it was good. So continue, yeah.
All right. I think I was just saying that JJ, like Pickens, the volatility of the Dallas Cowboys situation is unknown 2 years from now. Redraft, Dak is fire. Pickens was 5 last year. Lamb could be 1 and Pickens can still be 5. 2-3 years from now, I can't guarantee that. JJ is probably either 1 or 12 overall this year. And in the future, he's probably safer, I would say, because he's either... I just think he's going to have an amazing quarterback situation at least by 2 years' time, and that could be Joe Burrow. It could be something. We don't know what it's going to be. So from a dynasty perspective, I'm leaning toward JJ. I'm not even messing around with the lower floor, lower risk situation. It's JJ all day long, all day long. It's just what it is. And I love Pickens, but you enter in the diva equation. You enter in the fact that, like, when you close your eyes and picture Rashee Rice, does anybody picture Rashee Rice thriving 5 years from now, 4 years from now, or do you picture him out of the league? A disappointment.
I think chance he's out of the league.
Right. So, like, as much as we love Rashee Rice, there's that threat. It's there. You can't put your finger on it, but you're like, Rashee Rice is a huge long-term risk. Pickens probably isn't out of the league in 5 years, but when I close my eyes, I don't see anything. I don't know what it is. I don't know where he's going to be. I don't know how he's going to be playing. Is he going to be a head case? Is he going to be injured? Is he going to be not what we thought he was going to be? JJ, I know what he is. I know what he is. He is literally the best receiver in the league that's trapped in a situation where no one knows he's the best receiver in the league. They're forgetting he's the best receiver in the league. This guy walking into last season, I believe, was still the number 1 wide receiver in NFL history in yards per game. It was like 98 yards a game or something weird like that. Yeah. He was walking into 2025. 2025 played out. He's no longer, I believe, in that category because he tanked. But walking into 2025, I believe he was the number 1 receiver in NFL history in yards per game on his career. Not in a season, on his career. He was leading no one had 90, it was 98 or something, 98 yards per game. We know what he is. Dynasty, easy call. Redraft, I can go either way. Safe option, higher risk, higher reward. Final answer. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you the question. Anything else real quickly before I hang up on you and William at the same time?
Yeah, I have one more name for you, and I didn't know if I could, but Nabers.
Damn it, Brucey. Okay. Hold on, William. I'll let you have one more thing at the end too. Hold on, let me put Nabers. It's a good one. Nabers in Dynasty. It depends on where you're coming from. If you're in win now mode, And even then, it's like win now mode. You don't know what he's doing this year, but you're hopeful. I just think the answer's got to be Nabers. In Dynasty, in redraft, yeah, you're rolling the dice, but you're rolling the dice on one of the most talented players in the National Football League. So I agree. JJ in a redraft, though, the injury, Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator, which will not be a long-term issue. They'll get rid of him very quickly. Hopefully, it's in week 1. But Matt Nagy does present a 2026 problem. Jackson Dart's concussion state and aggressive play. Do they draft Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson? Those things worry me a little bit. And then the knee injury coming back from it, I still think he'll be fine for week 1. But if he isn't, I don't know. Redraft is pretty close. I would probably say, and I might be, people might think I'm crazy, but I think in redraft I lean JJ. And I don't know that that's going to sit well with a lot of people, and that's fine. I don't care. I don't know. I love Nabers, and he's a player we truly, truly, truly love. But there are lots of variables at play. And so I don't blame anybody. It's really close. It's such a close one that like tomorrow, Neighbor, what are we talking about? It's Nabers. it's really close. But I believe in JJ, bro. I believe JJ's going to get his groove back. I believe this is going to be a distant memory, a night terror that's long in the past that we barely remember. Remember that night terror? This is going to be a rebound above all rebounds, I think, for JJ. I'm just going to roll. You're rolling the dice either way, okay? You're rolling the dice Dynasty, but you have a likelihood that the injury will be in the past for sure, and then the situation will iron itself out, and Nagy will be gone. All those things are very likely, so the dice roll is not even that crazy. He is a little bit injury prone because of the way he plays. He sacrifices his body. But in Dynasty, because JJ's getting up there, surprisingly, what is he, 27?
I think so.
I think he's 27. Let me merge. Rock up, mute yourself real quickly. I'll be right with you. All right, phone lines are closed.
He'll be 27 in June.
Okay, so 27. So that makes me in Dynasty just say, let's roll the dice. But in redraft, the dice roll is the same. He's closer to that injury in redraft, and Dynasty doesn't matter, right? He's closer to the injury. They might draft the rookie receiver, which I think they'll play second fiddle to him because he's so good, but it'll certainly eat into the production. Give me JJ in a close call redraft. Give me JJ or give me Nabers in Dynasty. Unless I'm in a league where I don't think it's going to last more than 2 or 3 years, I might take the gamble on JJ in that league. But what I will tell you, we haven't said this yet, cost of entry. If I could trade Nabers for JJ in a Dynasty environment where people are like, he's 27, he's an old man. So many people play for 10 years in advance in Dynasty. It's ridiculous. You're always playing for second place when you're worried about having everyone be under the age of 25. If you're literally trying to consume only 22, 23, 24-year-old, 24, you're starting to get panicked. You need to reevaluate your team because you're always fighting for second place. You're probably never winning. 27 years old is still young in Dynasty. I know people don't think it is, but it is. You're probably going to have 3 years of JJ minimum at elite play. Probably be one of those players that plays a lot longer than that. Plays at 27, that's this year, 28, 29, 30. Look at Mike Evans is what, 34 or whatever? Adams is 33, 34.
Just 32.
So you're telling me that JJ, one of the best receivers ever, can't play well at 31? So give me 5 years. That's a long time in Dynasty. A long time. And so my thing here is that in Dynasty, in reality, Nabers over JJ, right? Not really, because I'm wavering already, right? And if I could get way more and go attack a panicked, I need a younger player, and get rid of Nabers to get JJ and something very significant, I'm taking JJ in this significant piece every time. That's cost of entry.
I think Joseph in the chat makes a really good point too. That he says JJ isn't going to allow himself to have another season like last season. He'll request a trade before that BS happens again.
Yeah,
I do think, and we've talked about it before, this is make or break years for Jefferson and Burrow. I think
they
both start
making
a lot of noise.
That's why
have a good year.
That's why I said earlier that the odds of when we went back to Pickens, the odds of Pickens having Dak healthy and being able to have that situation feed Lamb and Pickens, we have no guarantees that 2, 3, 4 years from now that can happen. We know 2026 it will happen. But JJ, there's more of a chance that he's either with Burrow or in a different situation or has an amazing QB than not in 2 years. Because, yeah, he'll be in a different situation. So give me JJ at 27, plays 27, plays 28, plays 29, plays 30, plays 31, 5 years, and an additional piece over Nabers all day long. Give me JJ an additional piece over Puka Nacua in Dynasty all day long. Give me JJ and an additional piece over Jamar Chase all day long. Maybe not all day long, but in the right scenario. And JSN in the right scenario. So I'd say Jamar Chase, JSN, they deserve a little bit more respect than the all day long. But I'm very much that type of dynasty builder that I'm looking at this 5-year window and I'm wondering why people see 2. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you, Bruce. Bruce to the moon. William, you got 10 seconds. Go.
Neighbors with MetLife. I would lean redraft with Neighbors and not Dynasty out there. MetLife. That's where dreams go to die out there. That's all I got.
Thank you. Appreciate you. DJ, throw a player at me.
Best show on the planet, Smitty.
Thank you.
Look, just good times ahead for JJ. Dynamite. Listen, the thing with JJ and Tyler, JJ's a route technician. He gets open, which is also, I think, the overarching point in terms of 3-4 years from now, he'll still be slicing cats up,
Uh-huh.
So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So he'll still be slicing cats up. Bruce kind of took my thunder because I was going to ask about Neighbors, but I'll slide to
Hebrew Hammer
Dynasty, and it was cross position. Oh God!
What? Yeah, give me a player because we're on what side? This is what we need to do.
Not Ashton.
Achane.
Achane. That's it. That was it.
So Achane versus JJ. Okay. All right. Yes. Hold on one second. Hebrew Hammer dropping the $20 hammer time. Let me hit the hammer time real quickly. Hebrew Hammer, appreciate you dropping the 20 watt. He's been doing it all week, really.
It's hammer time.
Thank you, Hammer. Appreciate you. Biggest thing that needs to happen is Kyler understand that he's just playing point guard. Even though he has the talent and all the talent in the world, O'Connell just does not want that stuff. Just get it out, play on time. Yeah, play on time, but he is a scrambling quarterback outside the pocket, unfortunately. Because of his height, he does need to get outside the pocket, which creates some of that off-schedule stuff. So you almost have to create an offense that is okay with that, but it's kind of an off-schedule on purpose architecture because he can't see over the offensive line. He is one of the top quarterbacks, not necessarily accurate, he was at one point, to throw outside the pocket. That's going to be what he is. And he needs a receiver that is one of the best receivers in the league catching football from a quarterback that is outside the pocket. That's what Hopkins was. If you remember Hopkins, he was the number 1 receiver in the league in catching the football when his quarterback was outside of the pocket. And that was Deshaun Watson. Then he came over to Arizona and played with Kyler, who's the next best quarterback to throw outside the pocket, most likely to throw outside the pocket. And it worked. It worked great. And it really wasn't until they tried to change, I think, the way Kyler played, to play him like Brissett. Brissett was delivering. Drew Petzing, that's kind of his, maybe his downside is he doesn't know how to adjust to a quarterback. But I do think that he'll get what he needs out of Goff to be the Brissett. So I don't think there's a problem in Detroit. Put Petzing somewhere else with a mobile quarterback, maybe, or one that can't play on schedule. Maybe we do have a problem. Maybe that's Petzing's learning curve or whatever. But he's where he needs to be. That's great. So, and then Odd, what is Booty worth in Dynasty? Thank you, Sir Brooks. Sir Brooks, did you see my answer to your super chat last night? Because at the end of the show,
night,
yeah, Graveyard. Go back to the Graveyard show last night. At the total tail end, we're just calling you out. We're like, "Where's Sir Brooks? Where's Sir Brooks? Sir Brooks, you here?" Hopefully, you didn't drop this and leave again. I was a little late to getting to your super chat. I apologize, but it is at the end of the show. We're calling you out, and I answered it. I'm like, "Where is he? Where is he? Stand up, Sir Brooks. You're in here right now. I'm going to give you a standing ovation because I missed you last time. Appreciate you. Booty's not worth anything." I mean, at least in football terms.
Yeah,
Booty's not worth anything. Outside of football, Booty's worth a ton, but Booty's not worth anything in the National Football League. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. This Booty isn't worth anything. Sir Brooks says, I watched till the end of the show. You watched? Oh, you watched it at the end of the show. Okay, he's here. Thank you.
Let him cook.
All right, so, yeah, Booty.
I see a lot
of
people asking about Booty.
Why?
I was going to say, I see a lot of people asking about Booty, and
the player.
I think it's because he had some long, big touchdowns last year. But that's what he is. He's a decent, third wide receiver on a team who can make some plays. He doesn't dictate defense, anything like that.
He should change his first name to Pirates. He's not worth it.
If he played in like the 90s, he probably would. I remember guys were changing their names.
He's playing like Pirates Booty now. He ain't getting anything for him, bro. Even if you threw him in, it wouldn't even move the needle, to be honest. All right, thank you, Sir Brooks. Appreciate you very much. And to answer the question, it was Achane versus JJ. So this is this build matters, right? Thank you again, Hammer Time. Hammer Time's still in the Rumble chat, I think. He's got to be. Thank you, Hammer.
Yep.
Appreciate
he's over
there. This is a tough one because, Achane's a running back. Running backs have a shelf life that's different than a receiver, but this man's 27, so maybe their shelf life matched up, maybe. It wouldn't even be crazy if JJ played one more elite year than Achane because he's a running back and has had, a handful of seasons already. I guess I would probably say this one's pretty dead even. I think I'm just going to call it and say that in Dynasty and redraft, it's probably Achane and redraft by a hair because we think we know what we're getting, but the offense is weird right now. We don't know if they're drafting a receiver. I guess if they don't get Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, or Mekhi Lemon, or make some weird trade, or maybe bring in Juwan Jennings, and he plays well enough. I don't know. Like, if they don't get anybody, I am a little worried about it. He also, though, in redraft, could get traded to the Bears tomorrow, and then he's worth way more than. So, I think in redraft, I'm going to call it Achane and take the gamble that things get a little bit better, or at least stay the same, and they lean on him a ton, and he's fine. In Dynasty, man, the running backs, man, they're just their shelf lives are strange, and he's smaller. And as much as I love the guy, and as much as I defend the smaller running backs, is there a world where he hangs around taking the beating of a running back the way he's used for, is he work done? Does he just survive for a long time? Running backs are built different though now. Like they're built
to get traded, different. I think.
Yeah.
Situation where he's protected more.
In PPR, I say JJ. In Dynasty, believe it or not, I still think JJ's got 5 years. In half PPR, I say, well, I mean, damn, Achane catch. We don't know what Achane's going to catch though. You know what? I'm calling it dead even. Across the board. Redraft Dynasty, dead even across the board. Because I could flip the script on myself and then argue one side, and I could flip the script and argue another. They're just dead even. DJ, what did you want to hear? What were you hoping I'd say?
I as I'm listening to you, my initial thought is that I'm having Achane in Dynasty. It's a good point in terms of the shelf life, but they're so few and far and in between, and his PPR, and then in redraft. But then as I'm listening to you, I might just have Jefferson across the board. So, yeah, but I'm thinking Achane redraft just because of running back values, and particularly in Dynasty. And then because of situation, JJ in redraft. We don't know what and where and what's happening with Achane. Travis, I think you made a good point. Or the gentleman in the chat talking about Jefferson being traded out. But yeah, redraft Jefferson, Achane, Dynasty. But on tomorrow, I could flip that. So
yeah. So the likely landing spots are either the Jaguars on a future draft capital situation, but let's pull that off the board and just right now assume that doesn't happen. Chicago, we talked about Seattle a ton being just a crafty, underestimated team to go get Achane. And in Chicago, these two, so if he did land in Chicago or Seattle, the answer is Achane for me in redraft for sure. Yeah. I still think because the shelf lives match up and JJ will be back to form, be with Burrow, something's going to change. Even if it's not amazing this year, like Travis said, and like I said earlier, he has a highly likely chance of being in Joe Burrow's world or Burrow in his world, or something amazing happens for him if Kyler and the situation don't evolve. So dynasty-wise, I think it's still tied. But redraft, it would be overwhelming Achane if he ends up on either one of these two teams. So that would be redraft. It would be tied in dynasty. All right, DJ, appreciate you, bro. Anything else?
Vikings trade, just real quick. Addison. They moved Naylor, right? Yeah, they moved him to LD, Las Vegas. And I'm just hoping they free up Addison. But JJ might be out of there. So I think Addison will be moved. I don't know about this year, but maybe next year.
It totally depends on JJ. Do they move both of them? Probably not.
Exactly.
If they move Addison, then they keep JJ. If they move JJ, they keep Addison probably.
Right.
But who knows?
Right.
Addison, will he even be in the league? Will Addison, or will he be racing in race cars? He might be in the NASCAR. Kyler's going to go to MLB. Addison's going to NASCAR. And JJ's getting out of Dodge. And O'Connell's fired.
That's all. Kyler Murray there in terms of just matching up. His game is all on the move. That didn't help MHJ, to your point about the OC system. And that, I think, is what, O'Connell up there in Minnesota is going to expect of Kyler. And, because he's the scheme master. He puts these quarterbacks in and it's basically, throw kind of, the route, and throw to Jefferson. But Kyler Murray's height, Bryce Young stands in the pocket, delivers over the middle, delivers on the outside, and they're both in the same height. It's just not Kyler's game. But if it slows him down, but JJ's going to be good.
Diego Pavia or whatever the hell. I wonder how much shorter he is than Kyler in real life, because I don't know if he's wearing lifts or whatever during measurements. But
I think Kyler might tower over him.
And they both Kyler and Bryce Young were number one picks in NFL drafts. I'll leave you guys with that, gentlemen.
All right, thanks, pal.
Best on the planet.
Thank you. Rock out. Toss out a name. And then we're out of here, and then we're gonna come back on a Dynasty stream real quick for 10 minutes.
I'll give you a weird one, Hampton.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see what you're trying to do, rock out. Trying to piss me off. So the concerns we have for Hampton this year are very like draft driven and Achane trade driven. Achane traded to the Chargers, very unlikely, but because Malibu Mike, used to go by formerly Miami Mike, is in that situation. We don't know. But it's very unlikely. But it's just something to think about. So I'm not going to worry about it. The draft, I don't think they're going to draft anybody that's a threat. Injury concern for him, injury concern for the team. I think I'm going to put all that aside and say that there's not enough evidence for me to suggest this is a continuous, revolving door of injury for all of the parties involved. I think this is going to be a year McDaniel unleashes Hampton. So from a redraft perspective, it's not close. JJ's a late second-round pick, mid-second-round pick. Hampton, I could fudge up to the 12, 13 turn, or if his ADP climbed to 9 or 10, I would probably pay it. So that's redraft. From a dynasty perspective, though, I think I get back to, again, if you're saying you're crazy, Smitty, for going JJ in dynasty, and I'm going JJ in dynasty, you're assuming that JJ doesn't return to form. And that's on you. I'm not. I am assuming JJ's back in the top 3 wide receivers. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's a very, very good bet for me to make, in my opinion. I'm banking on the talent. I'm banking on the fact that this was walking into the beginning of last year. We're not talking about 2-3 years ago. We're talking about one season's taken place since this man was the number 1 receiver in NFL history in yards per game on his career. It's like I think it was 98 yards, if I remember.
And so Puka went past him. Puka now has 95.3. Jefferson still is at 90.2, even after last year.
And what does that rank? Does that still rank second?
Yep, second. Jamar Chase is 3.
So dynasty-wise, catch me outside. I'm not. I don't care. I don't care. This is what it is. What it is. You either believe in him or you don't. But from a redraft perspective, given Kyler's unknowns and that Kyler's not a world star, and that part of the JJ dynasty dynamic here is that he gets paired up with Burrow again, or something amazing happens, or because if Kyler's not amazing, JJ's going to demand a trade, like we said, or something's going to happen. Burrow's going to come swinging into Minnesota, or JJ's going to swing out to Cincinnati. So dynasty, I don't even want to say easily, but kind of want to say I don't even really hesitate. Redraft, I don't hesitate either. This is a good one, Rockout. That's why I say you're gonna piss me off, is because I'm wearing 2 different hats. I'm wearing a redraft hat right now that says Hampton on it, and then I'm wearing a dynasty hat that says JJ on it. And I'm not apologetic over being very confident, like without wavering on both sides. It's just it's complex because I am wavering sum total, but when you divide it in half, redraft dynasty, it's redraft easily, it's dynasty for me easily. And that's all she wrote, folks. Rock out, final thought, and then I'll go over to Travis to close it out, and then we'll be back on a dynasty show.
Yeah, I gave you one more.
Real quickly.
McBride.
I think it's the same. Well, it's the same thing. The same answer I just gave with Hampton, except for in redraft it's McBride. I don't think by a landslide, but it's McBride in redraft. I think in dynasty the only difference is it's not a for sure JJ. It's probably a 50-50. The reason I say that too, though, is like we have a lot of ways to analyze this. I'm not a very big drafting McBride in the top 12 or 13 overall. And that's where I assume JJ's dynasty value at least returns to, if not higher. So I'm not really in the business of buying McBride at the old Gronkowski first round cost of entry when I can get Bowers or somebody like deep into round 2 value. So at the end of the day, my answer is redraft McBride easy, and dynasty cost of entry, it's JJ. In a vacuum, just relatively speaking, it's a tie, but I'm going to go JJ in dynasty because, again, I'm not spending top 12, which I would spend for JJ. I'm not spending top 12 dynasty value on a tight end when you got Bauer sitting just a little bit downstream. Rock out. See you on the Dynasty show. Appreciate you, my boy. Travis,
All right,
final thoughts. Anything else you want to add?
Well, Lewis just gave 10 gifted.
I smell meatloaf. Is it Lewis or Luis? What are we saying here, Lewis? Can you guide us on that, please?
Ask that.
Let us know.
And,
All right. Yeah. Thanks, John.
And then I was just going to ask, in Dynasty, if you could, I guess it would be the 1.01, if you could guarantee you got Jeremiah Smith in 2027 draft, would you rather Jefferson or him?
Jeremiah Smith. I think I mean, that's a Dynasty question. If we were to say redraft, JJ, because we don't know what Jeremiah Smith's going to do as a rookie.
Right.
So if we're talking the same concept next year, but in Dynasty, Jeremiah Smith. Because we'll be 1 year, you'll be 20, turning 28, and then we're closer. But yeah, Jeremiah Smith. But we do have to be mindful that MHJ was the best wide receiver prospect we'd ever seen come out of college, and that didn't work out well. So you never truly know. JJ or Jeremiah Smith feels like a lock, and he probably is. But MHJ was, dare I say, at least for the time, just as much of a lock. I mean, he was it, man. It's crazy when you think about it. He was it. This was a guy that you could argue is the number one overall Dynasty player if you wanted, and nobody would have batted an eye. They would have said, "I don't know if I'm that bull, but damn, I like it, boy, my boy." But not.
I think you're right. I think what separates Jeremiah Smith is he runs like a 4.3 or 4 at worst.
Yeah.
4. So he has this.
He's the real deal.
On top of everything else.
He's the real deal.
It's like, you could argue he's the best since Calvin Johnson to come out, right? That's just a pure prospect.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll probably say, the odds with the speed factor, obviously, and just the way he, in hindsight, it's easy to hindsight's always 20/20, but sometimes it's 2015 or 15/15. But MHJ definitely felt a little bit more. What's the word? I don't want to make this sound bad, but it's a really good example. Like JSN wasn't the quickest guy in the world. Or even like a better example would be Nico. Like Nico, no. Think of another one. Okay, let's use Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice didn't run a fast 40. So you're banking on Jerry Rice being so elite at every other part of his game, which he was, that he didn't need to be fast. And I'm not saying you're 40, you have to have 440, 4.4 is fine. Like Cardinal Tate, what he ran, everyone's complaining about. There's nothing wrong with that. Anquan Bolden ran a 4.6. Jerry Rice ran like a 4.7 or whatever it was. That is concerning. And so, like, should a player run 4.7? You're going to have, like, the 40 doesn't matter, but then that does. And you have to literally overcome everything else, which you can. Jerry did it. Bolden did it. But it's a very different thing than running a 4.45 or a 4.51. So MHJ, to me, even though MHJ, wasn't slow, his game very much was going to have to be on par and on the level, and the pedigree was there to assume it was, but of the Bolden and the Rice in terms of dominating all those other things, and he didn't and hasn't. So he's been held back entirely. Now, could he revive? Sure. But Jeremiah Smith, with his speed, is going to make this a whole different level of dimensions that we walk in with versus like, okay, MHJ's not a burner, so he's got to dominate here. He doesn't develop quickly. He's cooked for now. And he might rebound. But Jeremiah Smith is going to come in with a lot different kind of flexibility for all that. So,
yeah. Can you drop the link for the Dynasty? Swift was asking where to find it.
Sure. And don't say Anquan Bolden's big, bro. It doesn't matter. The receivers can still be quick at 230 pounds. That doesn't preclude you from being a fast guy, being 230 pounds. All right, let me drop this real quick. Here's the link. Dynasty channel, boom. YouTubers, there it is. Rumblers, there you go. There's the link to the Dynasty channel. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Travis, what topic do you think we should talk about? I don't know if we should double dip here versus create something new. Let's do something new.
What's in the news?
Anybody have an idea? In the news? I don't know.
Not much to say on Waddle.
Chat, what do we got? Should I talk about Waddle? I think Geronimo says it's not a bad topic. So you talk about how Geronimo wants to know why Waddle's a sell is what you meant to type. Sure, we'll do that. Why are we selling? Why are we selling Waddle? That's a great topic. Any other players to sell in Dynasty? Waddle and who? Who else can we sell? Guys, throw out a couple sells. Jacobs, I don't know if anybody's buying him.
I mean, personally, I'd sell Alec Peters. I don't know how much people will pay for him, but
okay. So Waddle, Pierce, sell. I could get behind that.
I'll talk about it on the show, I guess.
Yeah. Lewis says $10 holler. By the way, Lewis, what a monster! What a monster! I smell meatloaf.
Touch on there.
What?
People have been asking about him. So Malik Willis, in terms of Superflex or Dynasty, it's not a bad thing to touch on.
Let's keep it to. It's a good topic, but let's keep it to the theme of sell. So Alec Pierce, Waddle, Judkins. Sell. All right, let's do that.
Yeah. All right. See you then.
See you in about 5 minutes. Lewis says it's Lewis. Still, is it Lewis or Luis? It's Lewis. We still don't know. didn't tell us much there. My boy Lewis. Let's go with Lewis. I think it's Lewis. It's just like I don't know if you want to pronounce it Luis or Lewis. Okay, we'll call you Lewis. Lewis, my boy. Whatever I prefer. So I'm gonna go with Lewis. Thank you, my boy. I appreciate you very much. And Hendy Dynasty video. That's a good one, Lewis. Let's do that the next time. Remind me of it since we already decided on this one. But that's a great topic of conversation. It's Lewis. It's pronounced. He just writes it again. My boy Lewis to the moon. All right. See you all in T-minus 5 minutes on the Dynasty channel. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live at midnight Eastern almost every single night. Live whenever big news breaks. See you on the Dynasty channel at 5.